It's your favorite show on Safe TV. Where's the trucking instructions? I give up. I don't even know.
What's that? Brian, are you still trying to figure out hours of service? Let me go get Carrie.
Welcome back to Where's the Trucking Instructions. It's been a while since we've had a episode here. So, special guest, you know her, you love her, the formerly known as the Log Nazi.
Yeah.
Ms. Carrie Kent. Mrs. Carrie Kent. Sorry, I don't know why I said Ms. It's Mrs.
It is.
All right. So, as I say, formerly known as the Log Nazi, now known as the
Safety and Claims Administrator.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was just brought to my attention that now I am the Log Nazi. So, what are you going to do?
I will pass that off to you.
Yeah. I try not to be as mean as she was.
Oh, whatever. Whatever.
So, speaking of logs, that's what we want to talk about today. So, let's start with the basics. We'll start with hours of service.
Okay.
Right? Now, obviously, you did all the logging and the logs and hours of service stuff way longer than I've had. I've done it for what, a month and a half ish, somewhere in there.
A couple months.
I've noticed some things already in the short time I've done it. So what were like the biggest violations that you just, every time you looked at the computer, you knew, okay, this is going to be the one. These are going to be, I mean, is it a 14, a 11, a 30?
30-minute break.
Really?
I would say probably was number one. 14-hour was a close second.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the 30-minute break, the 14-hour. So 30-minute break, is it just flat out not doing it?
Running late, driving, and when you talk to them, they'd say, "Oh, well, I just wasn't paying track, paying attention, lost track of time, and was driving, and then, oops, I have a violation."
Right. Okay.
So
more of a, because that what I've noticed so far since I've been doing it, it's more of a lost track of time, forgot, and then stopped, did a 30-minute break, but it's too late at that point.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. And I think the ones where it's just completely flat out missed and nobody picked up on it, those seem to be few and far between. Right. They happen.
Totally disregarded.
Right, yeah. Mm-hmm. Or just completely forgot, But yeah, so that's what I've noticed too, that the 30-minute is just oops, but it's kind of too late. We've already missed the 30-minute break. And just so I'm sure everybody knows, but once there's a violation on there,
it's there.
There's nothing we can do about it.
It's there for 14 days on your log. So if you happen to get pulled over by DOT in those 14 days and they transmit your log, that violation will show.
It will show up. So you really want to, and I guess that's kind of what I want to get around to is really paying attention to your clocks. And not only paying attention, but then it comes down to planning ahead a little bit, and just not trying to run everything down to the last second. I mean, would you say that's really
that
where
definitely happens?
Yeah, and that's where usually you find the most issues is running it right down to the last. Whether it's a 30-minute, 14, or an 11-hour, You're right there, and then all of a sudden you're out of time, and there's nowhere to pull over. Mm-hmm. And it's maybe your 14-hour violation's 2 minutes, minute and a half. I've seen some that were seconds, but a couple of minutes that you got to find that place to pull off or whatever makes the difference.
Right. That's where proper time management comes into play. Mm-hmm. Know you have an hour or less, and you find that ample place to park, pull over.
Right. Yeah. When I was driving, that was I always planned on 10 hours. Mm-hmm. That hour number 11, that's you find I was looking for somewhere to park. Now, I'm not going to say that I never ran my clock down to the last second, because I did it lots of times. But I was always like, I'm looking at that clock.
I got 2 minutes.
I did not want to get a phone call from the Log Nazi. So I was always really, and there were times where I'd get off the exit,
Right. Hurry, hit that button and
hit
change
that
it
button,
over.
change it over, and then I was on duty yard move to just kind of whip around the corner into the truck stop. And that kind of gets us into, like we said, time management, trip planning, stopping a little earlier. Communication with dispatch is a big one.
Huge.
Let them know where you're at on hours. If you're at a customer and you're running low, and especially if it's a customer where they're not going to let you stay there. Right. So,
well, don't you have those in the notes, customer notes? In the notes, stuff like that?
A lot of them do. Yeah. Not everyone, but a lot of them do. Yeah. But there's some places like Campbell Soup that their facilities won't allow you to park there overnight. The drivers know. At least with the big main customers that we go to a lot, we kind of know where we can and can't park. Just you're there, you're running a glow on hours. Call somebody, say something. So that you're not having to worry about running into any violations, which then leads us into our other favorite thing:
personal conveyance.
Personal conveyance. So this one's a toughie.
Yeah.
I always say when we're doing things in orientation, when we're explaining personal conveyance to especially the drivers coming into the finishing program that are very new, that the FMCSA was kind enough to leave personal conveyance as open to interpretation as they possibly could.
Yeah, it's a very gray area, and it's up to your company to write the policy.
Exactly. And then it's up to the FMCSA to tell us when our policy is wrong.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
Yeah.
So, just give us a quick rundown of what the actual company policy is as far as personal conveyance, and then maybe we can get into the real world application of it.
Right. So our policy is you can go up to 30 miles without any notification to fleet manager. When you do that, you're just going to go off duty, enable your personal conveyance, and make sure you put that note in there. Document. Go to your safe location and then take the PC off. Anything over 30 miles of PC, you're going to call in and talk to a fleet manager. We have somebody here 24 hours a day available. So you're going to let them know approximately how many miles, why you need to do it, and then when they approve it, you're going to document that on your log. You're going to do the same thing, go off duty, enable the PC, and in the notes you're going to put who approved it. And make sure you always hit save before you leave again. That way, if you would happen to get pulled over, you've covered yourself.
One thing that I've run into quite a bit since I started doing this was the approval notation. So really, documentation is super, super important. So sometimes people will put, PC to nearest safe parking, and then it's, 48 miles. And they didn't put in there, approved by Frank or approved by Deb. But when I go back in and I look for the notes from the fleet manager, from the dispatcher,
they're in there.
They're in there. They did approve it, but it's not documented. So, and that's why you might get a call from me or get a call from Carrie saying, hey, you got to make sure you're approving this, or did you get it approved? Well, yep, okay. Well, you got to, because here's the thing, if it's not documented and you try to, you get pulled over, and you don't have anything documented ahead of time, now that officer is just going to think you're playing dumb with him, or you're just trying to pull one over on him.
Trying to falsify.
Yep. But if it's documented before you do it, PC to nearest safe parking approved by Deb. Now, 10 miles down the road, you get pulled over.
You're covered.
It's all documented. If the officer wants, he can call in and he can talk to Deb and get it, but everything's squared away.
Right.
Just another quick note. I haven't been seeing it as much as we used to.
Safe haven.
Use the term safe parking, not
location.
safe haven.
Or safe location.
Safe haven is very specific to hazardous materials. If you get the wrong DOT guy or the wrong state trooper, they can write you up for that. Because you don't have hazardous materials on your trailer.
Right.
So safe parking, safe location. If you're PCing to, Walmart or home, that one's okay. But unless you're hauling hazardous materials,
stay away
from the safe haven thing.
Yep.
So you might get away with it for a few times, but eventually it might catch up to you too.
Well, the main thing on PC is just document. Just write it like you do it like you write it.
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
put what you're doing.
Proper versus improper use of personal conveyance.
Oh.
This is where it can get very confusing. The biggest thing in the FMCSA regulation is you cannot use personal conveyance to advance your position within your dispatch.
Correct.
What in the Sam Hill does that mean, Carrie?
It's so confusing. You can't use PC to drive to the shipper and start your break while they're loading you or unloading you.
Okay, so you're running low on hours. You're just about to your 11-hour driving day. You cannot switch over to PC to continue to the Campbell's DC in Findlay to pick up your load.
Absolutely
and do all that.
Cannot.
All right. Now, what if our camera guy, Hayden, he asked this question because he's super smart about these things. He asks great questions. What if you are at the shipper, you're at the shipper, you picked up a load, ran you out hours. They won't let you park on their property. You have to leave.
Right.
You got to go to the nearest safe parking. That nearest safe parking happens to be in the same direction as your next pickup.
You have to stop at that first safe location. You cannot bypass truck stop A to go to truck stop B because you like that place better.
So, but I don't have to go on purpose in the opposite direction.
No.
What if the opposite direction is the nearest safe parking?
Unfortunately,
then you got to go the opposite direction, right? Yeah. So, but it is okay to go to the nearest safe parking in the direction of your next pickup. So technically, yes, you're advancing the position.
But you're stopping at that first safe location.
First safe location, yep. So, and that's what it's really about is first nearest safe location.
Right.
What about I pull into a place, I get checked in. They say, you know what, go park over here in the staging lot. We'll call you when we get your dock ready.
Okay.
I go over there, go off duty. I'm sitting there in the sleeper, eating and watching TV, doing whatever I'm doing. Mm-hmm. 20 minutes later, they call me, hey, put it in dock 42. I go off duty, personal conveyance to drive from my spot there to my dock, back in, and then disable personal conveyance. Mm-mm. Good or bad?
Bad. Very bad.
Ooh, bad. Can't do it?
No.
Why not?
Yard move.
Yes. So personal conveyance is off duty. Yard move is on duty.
Uh-huh.
If you're within your 14-hour shift, you can't be doing work stuff and off duty, right?
Correct.
There you have it, folks. Mm-hmm. If you are not sure, call. Mm-hmm. Call dispatch. Frank and Deb have gotten pretty good with what is and what is not.
Uh-huh.
And if they have a question, they email us from time to time or whatever, and they call us and we try to help them out too. But call in if you have any questions if you're not sure. How about the adverse driving conditions exemption? So that's something that I think kind of gets lost in the mix sometimes, and people are using personal conveyance when they should probably be using adverse driving conditions. So what is the exemption?
You can extend your day 2 hours if it's an emergency condition that you didn't know about beforehand, whether roads closed due to an accident or construction. You just cannot know about it beforehand.
Okay,
does that make sense?
So let's say there's a construction zone on I-75 and it's been there for 6 or 8 months and it's always backed up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Can't use the adverse.
No, because you drive that.
Because you drive that all the time. You know it's there. Mm-hmm. But you're on I-75 and I don't know, mile marker 104 right there around Botkins. Right? I think that's right. I hope that's right, or I'm going to look like a real idiot. Somebody will call and let me know. They always do. But I think exit 104 is around the Botkins area. Mm-hmm. there's an accident. 4-car pile up, whatever. There's an accident. It closes the road down. You end up sitting there for a couple hours.
Which runs you out of time.
Runs you out of time. Now you can use adverse conditions.
Correct.
Okay. And again, documentation.
Absolutely. Right? Absolutely.
Yep.
Well, it's a great thing is you can use your motive to document the adverse conditions.
We'll go to our log. If you come up here and you tap your log, tap your little log grip. This thing has not rang this entire time. All right, let's start over. We go to our log, our main log screen. Tap on the graph. Okay, we got the plus button down here at the bottom right-hand corner. Boom, right there at the bottom. Take adverse conditions exemption. That's right there on that pop-up menu. You tap on it. That will automatically put a remark in the notes, right?
Correct.
Right? Now, would it or would it not be a good idea to also say, put in the notes,
why? Absolutely. Right? You can't document too much.
No, there's no such thing.
No such thing.
Now, so in this example, I would say I would hit my button on my log and do the I almost said advanced adverse conditions, and then I would put in there, let's say something along the lines of due to accident on I-75 at exit 104 near Botkins, Ohio. And so the only reason I say that specific, because I'm thinking, okay, half an hour later after everything clears up and I'm driving, Mr. DOT man pulls me over and he says, well, you're out of hours. But he sees that note. He can call back into dispatch and say, hey, was there an accident at exit 104 near Botkins?
Yeah.
It's verifiable. You've got it documented ahead of time. That's the other important. As important as documentation is, ahead of time.
As it's happening.
Yep. Adverse driving exemption will lead us into the 16-hour exemption for local drivers.
Correct.
So we want to be very clear. For local drivers.
You have to start and stop in the same location each day.
So Brock Schooley, he starts here at the yard every day. He ends here at the yard every day.
Correct.
All right. Let's say on Tuesday, Brock Schooley started here at the yard, and he gets close to the house. He's like, you know what? I'm going to park the truck at home today. Can't use any 16-hour exemption because he's finishing at a different spot.
Correct.
So you have to go on duty and off duty at the same location.
Yep, absolutely.
Yep. And again, local drivers only. Sorry, it is not for the OTR guys. They do not give the OTR guys that exemption. Before we end all the fun and festivities, let's talk about the split sleeper berth for a second. Yep. Yes. Split sleeper. So I'm going to take a crack at just as basic of an explanation as I can come up with. I would use this with trainees. I would use this in orientation quite a bit. I use easy numbers because I don't like math. So I'm going to use 5 hours of driving and 6 hours of driving just to make it simple. Okay? So we get up in the morning. We drive for 5 hours. We get to a shipper. We know it's going to take them 2 hours to load us. So we go to off duty. We're there for 2 hours. 2 hours and 10 minutes, we'll say. But whatever, we're there for 2 hours.
Okay.
We now still have 6 hours left on our clock to drive. Right? So now we drive 6 hours. We get to a stopping point. We go into sleeper berth for 8 hours. How many hours do I have to drive after that 8 hour sleeper berth?
Everything you had prior to the first break. So it'd be 5 hours.
So the 5 hours I got. And then I drive for 5 hours, take a 2 hour break. Can be off duty or sleeper berth,
Correct.
2 hour
Correct.
break.
The 2 hour.
Yep.
You're bigger of the numbers, the 8 and 2 or 7 and 3, whichever one you choose. That bigger number has to always be a sleeper.
Has to be sleeper. Yep. So then that just keeps leapfrogging like that. That's 5 hours, take a 2-hour break, 6 hours of driving, 8-hour sleeper berth break. Now we got 5 hours again, and it just keeps doing that forever in 5 days. Can you ever go back to a regular schedule?
Oh, absolutely. Anytime you want.
How do you do that?
Just take 10 hours consecutively
10
off.
consecutive hours off. We have quite a few drivers that pull off the split sleeper, and they do it right. We have quite a few drivers that
Not so much.
And hey, I'm not like shading on anybody. I'm one of them who did not do it very well.
It's very confusing
It
because
can
there
be,
are
yeah.
multiple parts in the sleeper berth process.
Yeah.
And you have to get each one right
Yep.
in order
Yep.
for it to work.
Yep. Just the biggest thing is remember the longer section of the break has to be sleeper berth. The shorter section can be either or.
Right.
Sleeper or off duty.
And you may see on your log, you do the split, and then you still see it says, I still have a 14-hour violation. We get these calls
Yep.
when people
Yep.
do it. If you look at it, it says it may be removed after the second qualifying break.
Right.
So just remember to take your proper break numbers, either
Yep.
8, 2, 7, 3, and it should
Come
come off.
word.
I should.
Yes. All right. Thanks for tuning in, guys. This is Where's the Trucking Instructions? I want to thank you guys for tuning in to Safe TV again. Check back with us again on the next time, and we'll see you later.